Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Casey. Today we will be studying from Unit 8 an article called Making Faces, which is about understanding the purpose and tone of writing. So, in today's lesson, we will build background to understand the context and content of a reading text. We will construct and use compound sentences to improve our writing and speaking. We will learn to use appropriate language to discuss this topic. We will understand the purpose and tone of writing, and yes, we will define those words in a minute. And then we will write to show understanding of what we read. So let's begin. Before we read anytime, we want to build background. We want to understand what it is we're reading about. Okay, so if we look at this picture of the article here, it's called Making Faces, and you can see a mask and a costume. Okay, so we understand this is what the story is going to be about. So costumes change the way you look and feel. Look at the photos, make a list of reasons that people wear costumes or masks. So pause the video for 1 minute and make a list of 5 reasons why you think people wear costumes or masks. Okay, here's my list. Number 1, for a play or a special dance. Number 2, for a party, if we go to a costume party, like a Halloween party. As a kind of uniform, some people wear a special costume or a mask as a uniform. Maybe for a special celebration. And another one, we may have some sort of cultural or religious festival where we have costumes and masks that are involved. Maybe you had other ideas, different ideas than mine. There are lots of reasons why people around the world wear costumes and masks. So we will be learning more about that today. So here's an example from theater. This is a very famous play called The Monkey King. And you can see they have their faces painted, they have special hats and special costumes. And this is what makes the play come to life. Okay? And this is how we talk about it when we're watching this. I like their costumes and the makeup is great. I agree. Next, we're going to talk about compound sentences. So what is a compound sentence? An independent clause expresses a complete thought. I like hamburgers. That's a complete thought, an independent clause. It can stand alone as a sentence. When you join 2 independent clauses, you make a compound sentence. I like hamburgers because they are delicious. That's a compound sentence. So the words and, but, and or are conjunctions. They join the 2 clauses. And normally a comma comes before the conjunction. Here is an example. Leon puts on the green mask and I put on the blue one. This is a compound sentence. Here's some more examples. Okay, we can use and to join similar or related ideas. Example, Jorge cuts out the mask and Maya paints it. Those ideas go together. The next one, we use but to join different or opposite ideas. Tessa thinks the mask is scary, but I think it looks funny. Different ideas. And then we use or to show a choice when making compound sentences. You can wear the mask or you can hang it on a wall. Okay, here are 5 sentences. Okay, I want you to read the sentences and then combine them together to make compound sentences using and, but, or. Okay, go ahead and pause the video for 2 minutes and write these compound sentences down in your notebook. Okay, here we go. Number 1. People wear masks during celebrations and they have parades. These ideas are related or similar. That's why we use and. Number 2, some masks are old, but other masks are new. These are different ideas. Number 3, do you like traditional masks or do you prefer new ones? This one shows us a choice. That's why we use or. Number 4, A mask might be made of paper or it might be made of wood. Again, we're showing a choice. And number 5, some masks are supposed to scare people, but people still enjoy them. Different ideas. And you see an example here from Mexico where they celebrate the Day of the Dead and everyone wears very scary costumes. So, how do we use appropriate language, to speak and write? People who like masks sometimes collect them. People collect lots of things. What interests you? What do you collect? What would you like to collect? What I want you to do is pause the video for 1 minute and write down this for you. Your name, what you collect, what you want to collect, and why. Ready? Here's a couple examples. So here's Sonia. She wants to collect coins from around the world. She wants to have 1 coin from every country. What does she collect? She collects coins. Okay, how about Henry? Henry collects comic books. What does he want to collect? We don't know. He wants to be an artist. So what do you think he wants to collect? Here's my idea. I think he wants to collect old famous comics and manga because they're very artistic and he can use them to help him develop his own art. Okay, so how do we use language to talk about these things? When you talk to your classmates in a small group, use informal language. Relax and be casual. Speak in a normal tone of voice. Okay, this is when you're talking to classmates or people that you know. Number 2, when you give a presentation in front of a large group, use formal language. Stand up straight, look serious, make eye contact with the audience, speak loudly and clearly. So we speak differently when we're speaking to different groups of people. When you're speaking to your class, you speak differently than when you're speaking to your teacher. Okay, so we also use compound sentences and but and or to combine sentences in your presentation to make it sound more interesting. We use this in speaking and writing. Here's an example that's just okay. Boris collects postcards. He always buys some when he goes on vacation. He asks other people to send postcards to him. Here's a better example. Now we've turned the second sentence into a compound sentence, and it sounds more natural. Boris collects postcards. He always buys some when he goes on vacation, and he asks other people to send postcards to him. When we speak and write, it's better to combine short sentences and compound sentences together. Simple and compound together makes it more interesting and easier to read. Now, next, the author's purpose and tone. So first, how are purpose and tone related? The author may want to inform, entertain, or persuade readers. The author's purpose often determines the tone. The tone is the author's attitude toward the topic. The words an author uses help readers determine the tone. So, to entertain, the tone may be friendly and cheerful. To inform, the author's tone may be serious. To persuade, the author's tone may be strong and forceful. Let's look at what some of those mean. So what do we mean when we talk about the author's purpose? What does that mean? Well, purpose is the reason for writing. Why are we writing this? Okay. And then next, what about tone? What does the tone mean? Well, we saw that right here. The tone is the author's attitude towards the topic. How does the author feel? So again, do they want to entertain us, inform us, or persuade us? The third one, why would the author want to persuade? What does that mean? Well, here's a definition. Persuade is to cause someone to believe in something, to convince. I want you to believe the same thing as me. So I want to persuade you. Okay. So sometimes an author has more than one purpose. In this case, the writing may have more than one tone. So as you read, identify the author's purpose for looking at the words the author uses to create tone. Here's an example from what we are about to read about masks. Okay, now, if we look at this text, Are there words in here that give us a clue about the tone and the purpose of the author's writing? Well, here's an example. Shocked. Shocked makes me think the girl looks around with her mouth open. I get a better understanding of how the girl feels than if the author used the word interested. Okay? Shocked. Right? This word gives us a sense that something very interesting is happening. He says that here. You have a really interesting place. Here's another way to do that. Choose the words that the author uses, write them down, and write down what is the tone, and then what is the purpose. Okay, so here's our magazine article for today, Making Faces. What does a magazine article do? What is the purpose of a magazine article? Well, most magazine articles are non-fiction, meaning they're true. Many use headings to divide the text into readable parts. Articles also use photos and captions to make the text more interesting and help readers understand more about the topic. Magazine articles can be written about an author's experience using I and me. So we put ourselves into the story. They can be written to entertain or to inform. Match tone and purpose as you read. Specific language and punctuation are clues as to how the author feels about the events. So here's an example from the text, okay, called My Collection. So you see here the heading tells us what this section of the text will be about. Okay. Here is a photo that gives us some more information. Here is a caption that tells us about the photo. Okay. And then we have specific language and punctuation that gives us clues about purpose and tone. So pause the video for 1 minute. Read the short selection from the article, and what do you think is the author's purpose in writing the article before we read it? What is the evidence that you have? Write this in your notebook, and we'll check again after we read the article. Ready? Here's my answer. The author shares his experience with masks. I collect masks, so my house is filled with them. And he wants us to be informed about their power in history, art, and culture. That's my idea. We'll see as we read the story. Okay, here's page 504 of Making Faces. Again, the heading, My Collection. So this is going to be talking about the author and his collection of masks. So the question, what is the author's tone in this article, and what words help us to understand the tone? Pause the video for 2 minutes, read My Collection, and write down or circle some words that help us understand the author's tone. Okay, here are some words that I found. He uses strong words like shocked, strange, bright, plain, interesting. He also takes trips to study masks. Okay? He's very interested in them. He's amazed by masks, and he wants to inform us about the many different types. This is his purpose. These words set the tone of the article, so we know what his attitude is about masks and his reason for telling us about them. Here's page 505. And here's 2 questions for you. So pause the video for 2 minutes, read full of spirit, okay, and answer the 2 questions in your notebook. Okay, number 1. Why does the author think that masks have power? What does he say? Well, the people of Bali and many other cultures too believe that the character's spirit lives in the mask. There's something inside the mask. And then he talks about steps in the process. How do people in Bali make a wooden mask? Well, first they are carved, they're painted with many colors, and then they are decorated with hair or jewels. Next, page 506 and 507. This section is called Festival Faces. Read this section and answer these 2 questions about masks in Bhutan. Pause the video and answer the 2 questions. Okay, what did you learn? How do people in Bhutan use masks at festivals? Well, they tell stories about keeping evil spirits away and bringing good fortune, bringing money to people. Okay, now why does each character have its own mask, and how does this help the audience? Well, here, the audience knows each character by its mask, and that helps people follow the stories. Okay, different masks tell different stories in all cultures, and in Bhutan, each character is known by their famous mask. Here's page 508. Okay, and this is called Facing Change. So read page 508, Facing Change, and answer the 2 questions on the screen. So we're talking about a tribe called the Dogon people in West Africa. So how does a Dogon dancer show respect for the dead? You see their masks and their costumes here, very colorful and powerful. How do they show respect for the dead? Well, they dance on the roof of the person's house to show respect. You see this here. Now, what is the author's tone in this section of the article, and what words and phrases help us to understand the tone? He is concerned, is what I hear the author saying. Why do I think that? Well, he says, keep Dogon traditions alive. The world keeps changing, and they don't want their ways to die out. So he's concerned that the Dogon people will disappear, or that their traditions will disappear, because they are a very small tribe of people. This is page 510 and 511. Okay, and there's 2 stories here. One called Standing Out about the Karo people, and Read My Face about the Maoris of New Zealand. Read these 2, okay, and answer the 2 questions on your screen. Okay, we have done compare and contrast before. How are they the same and how are they different? So you just read about 2 tribes of people, the Karo from East Africa and the Maoris from New Zealand. Okay, how are they the same and different? Well, the designs are both very strong and they stand out. We can see them very clearly. They both show their connection to a tribe or a group of people. But the Karo faces are painted and use many colors. The Maori are permanent cuts in the skin colored with only blue-black. So you can see the difference here. So there's some ways the same, some ways different. Now, what clues or evidence tell you that face designs are important to the Maori people? Well, one side of the face is about the mother. The other side of the face is about the father. They are painful and permanent. They have them forever. They take a long time to make. Okay, time to practice. So what I want you to do is, in your notebook, write 1 or 2 paragraphs to describe what you learned about masks and why the author thinks they are so important. What is his purpose in writing this article about making faces? You can see him here posing with some of his masks that he has collected. Pause the video and write a couple paragraphs for yourself. Okay, here's what I wrote. Here's my answer. The author learned a lot by traveling, and he found that masks are very important to cultures, both old and new. His purpose in writing this article was to inform us about the variety of masks in so many different cultures. But I think the author wants us to see that masks, like cultures and traditions, are very important and worth protecting and saving. For him, masks and cultures go hand in hand. And if we can understand the importance of masks, we can understand the importance of the people who created them. Okay, Here's your homework for this week. We worked on making compound sentences. So over here you see sentences 6 through 10. Okay? In your notebook, combine these sentences together using and, but, or, and make compound sentences. And then I want you to research on the internet if we now or have in the past used masks as part of Vietnamese culture and tradition. Write 3 paragraphs in your notebook to describe to other people what you have learned about masks and Vietnamese culture. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.